Thanks very much for being back with us on DNS in the Stock Game. We've got a pretty good session going on for the markets, currently high at about 56.89 for the Nifty. We're still holding on to those gains of about 40 odd points. Sensex as well, 152 points higher is how we are trading here. And what's driving the benchmark up at this point in time? It's a REL Power that's slowly inching its way towards the 100 mark. So currently it's at 97.65. We've got a Bajaj Auto as well as M&M. In fact, fresh highs have been made on both those names, especially after this good set of October auto sales numbers. So Bajaj Auto right now is higher by about 2%. Similar movement on an M&M as well. That's at 918. Larsen & Toubro and Ambuja Cements are amongst the big movers in the session right now.
Okay, that's how the markets are panning out. And remember, you've also got the broader markets which are showing you quite a bit of activity as we speak. So the mid and the small cap index by close to 1% apiece. But let's take it straight to the stock game. First off, start off by telling you what the rules and regulations are. A portfolio building exercise where three experts are given a notional amount of 5 lakh rupees. They have to create a portfolio with a total of 4 stocks. A compulsory churn of 2 stocks is required every single day. Now, if targets or stop losses are achieved during intraday trade, they are required to replace those stocks with a new one. And in case there's a sell call in the cash market, that too is replaced by a new stock. It's at the end of the week that we'll see who has made the maximum amount of money, whose strategies have worked in their favor. The person whose calculator shows up the highest amount will be the winner of the stock game. So brace yourselves because lots of trading ideas are going to be coming your way. On that note, let's introduce our 3 participants who are battling it out this entire week. Kunal Saragi, CEO at EquityRush.com joins in. Lancelot Dikuna, CEO ITI Wealth Management, and our very own Rajat Bose joining in from Kolkata from RajatKBose.com. Gentlemen, great as always to have you with us. We'll get straight to your picks in just a short while. But before that, let's get in a synopsis of what happened to their stocks yesterday, not the best of days, Megha.
Absolutely, Avan. In fact, it has been a pretty tough week and a rough ride so far, at least. In terms of yesterday's performances as well, all the 3 experts ended the day in the negative territory. So first up, that's Kunal's portfolio on your screens. 4 longs is what he was betting on, and by the end of the day, he was stopped out on a Divi's Laboratories and was losing close to 6,900 rupees by the time we wrapped up the session. Lancelot Dikuna then, on the other hand, had 3 buys and 1 short recommendation in his portfolio. He was stopped out on all the 4 names, so that's Prime Focus, Fintech, Shoppers Stop as well as Unifrost was stopped out through the day, and he was sitting on a cut of close to 20,300 rupees as of yesterday's closing. And Rajat Bose's portfolio then, 4 longs was what he was also going ahead with. So the long on a Century Textile, TTK Prestige as well as a Hindalco. Century Textile and Hindalco stopped out. TTK Prestige of course hit the target, and he was sitting on a loss of close to 16,000 rupees by the time we ended yesterday's trade.
Okay, a brand new day, the final day of the stock game. Is luck favoring our experts? Are they choosing the right stocks? Let's find out. Let's start off with Kunal Saragi and his strategy for yesterday. Kunal, as per the rules, you were required to retain 1 stock. Which one's that?
That will be REC. The stock has got great traction. It's doing really well. So that is a stock that I'll retain. Apart from this, I'll introduce 3 new long positions, given that markets now seem really bullish. The stocks that I've chosen for today are Biocon, Arvind Mills, Alok Industries. All 3 are high beta, and I expect the markets to continue to rally all through the day today. So I think these would be a good place to bet on.
Okay, 4 longs is what Kunal's also going ahead with for today. Lancelot, you're also continuing with the longs only strategy?
Yes, I've seen some amount of traction, and I think now that we are, moving in the direction of the upward direction, I felt that we should go with longs again with a bias on the basis of news or results, so that maybe that can move the stocks to their target prices. So I've gone with 4 longs on Hexaware, on Ambuja Cements, Mahindra and Pidilite.
Okay, those are the stocks that Lancelot Dikuna is betting on for today. And finally to Rajat Bose. Rajat, what are you spotting in today's market, and what are your 4 trading ideas?
All long strategies. First some food, then with a mobile, and finally with some jewelry, and ultimately intending to live in a cemented house. That kind of a thing I have. Bharti Airtel, Jubilant Foodworks, November Futures, Tribhubandas, Vimji, Zaveri and JP Associates are the 4 companies in which I have gone long. so far as I can see, two of them have already stopped out. Bad luck for me. But overall, I'm quite bullish. I have a feeling that we are actually headed for higher levels. So long only strategy was the best thing that I could have gone for, as well as my two colleagues have done so. The same is the strategy.
That's a very comprehensive view coming in from Rajat this Friday morning. So on that note, let's take you through the scorecards right now as they look. First up would of course be Kunal's portfolio on your screens. He's already hit the target on an REC as well as an Arvind. We've also got an Alok Industries that's working in his favor, and that's helping him to pare quite a few of those losses from yesterday. So it's about 3,000 rupee cut is what we're seeing on the overall portfolio. Lancelot Tikuna then on the other hand, 4 longs is what he's going ahead with for today as well. So barring a Pidilite, the other 3 are working in his favor once again, and also helping him to cut some of those losses. So right now he has an overall loss of about 12,000 rupees on the portfolio. Prashad Bose then, well, like he mentioned, 2 of those names have been stopped out. So he's been stopped on a Bharti Airtel as well as TVZ. JP Associates and Jubilant's working in his favor, and right now he's got a loss of about 3%. That's 15,600 rupees.
Okay, but let's nail it down to individual trading ideas. Start off with an REC. How come you chose to retain that one? And for someone who's looking to buy into this counter, Kunal, would you think that these levels are the right to nibble into it or wait for it to cool off?
Well, I think the stock faces resistance close to about 230. It's gradually moving to those levels. So I think now probably it's not the time to buy it, given that the risk reward probably doesn't favor a buy at these levels. But if it was to go to 230, I think one could take profits there. People who are holding, I think this stock might actually move towards that level of 230 over a period of time. And for now, of course, our target for the day has been met. And for those who are holding still, I think a stop loss at 220 and a target of 230 can be a positional trade for the days up.
Okay, so Kunal's reiterating the target of 230 for the medium term for an REC. Away from that, a Hexaware Lancelot, recently, of course, we also had the numbers come out. The company's also reiterated the fact that they're looking at becoming a billion-dollar company in this decade. Brokerage reactions were largely kind of steady only. So, given the counter's lost out of close to 7% in the last month, would you initiate buys at current levels or wait it out a bit?
Well, I think if one is taking a little long-term view, you should initiate buys even at these levels, because the management, although the results for this quarter were not that attractive, but the management has reiterated that, going forward they see better order traction, and the expenditure was more of a one-off kind of situation. So if you look at a valuation perspective, it's trading at about 7 or 8 times its FY13 and FY14 EPS, which is fairly attractive for a company like Hexaware. So I would say that if one wants to look at a 2 to 3 year horizon, it definitely looks positive. And for the day, because the momentum, post the conference call with the management, it started picking up. So people got a better idea of what the company is in. So I felt that the momentum may take it to its target price today.
Okay, that's a word which is coming in on a Hexaware, the counter holding up very smartly in today's session. But of course, the telecom space has been in focus, or yesterday especially, when the panel of ministers said that the telecom operators who are fighting for the withdrawal of government of the high-quality airwaves will be allowed to in fact keep some of their spectrum holdings. But Bharti Airtel on the charts today is looking a bit weak, Rajat. Where do you see it headed from these levels?
You see, I would say that if it were to fall below 275 once again, then probably it would once slide down further. But otherwise, if it doesn't fall below that, then it might try and climb up to something like 279 to about 281 initially. But it needs to cross the 281 to 284 zone. I mean, given the kind of momentum that I saw yesterday, I feel that probably this time it would actually get past the 284 mark. But unfortunately, 284 could not be crossed, and it has come down considerably, so I've got stopped out. But overall, since it is coming out of a consolidation zone, if it doesn't fall below 275 and close there today, there is a probability that it might actually scale up to 289 to about 293 in the short term.
Okay, so for today, the stop loss though has been triggered. Rajat believes 275 is the critical number to be watching out on a Bharti Airtel. Away from that, let's talk about a Biocon then. Kunal, we had the numbers that were released yesterday. They came in above what the analyst community was expecting. We also had news about GE Capital investing in a subsidiary of the company, which was also taken pretty well by the markets. So technically as well, do you think things are working in favor of a Biocon? And what sort of targets would you peg for the next 2 to 3 months?
Well, if you look at the chart structure, I think it's after a long wait that we've seen some bit of steadying in the stock. So I think this probably is headed higher, Biocon. As long as it continues to trade above that very critical zone of 260, I think over the medium term, the stock could actually cross those levels of 300. So for somebody who's been holding on to the stock very patiently for the last 3-4 months, I think one should continue holding. The immediate target, I think, can be about 290, where there is a bit of congestion. So I think 290 can be a target for somebody with a week or 10 days kind of view. But for somebody with a slightly longer term view, I think 325, 332 is likely on Biocon.
325 to 330 not being ruled out on a Biocon. The results were well received by the market, but on a YTD basis, the counter has just about notched up by 0.5%. Away from that to the cement pack then, and Ambuja Cements is a buy call, Lancelot, from your end. Remember, the results were fairly good. You had CLSA also, which maintained an outperform rating. No doubt this is a quality play within the cement pack, but would you pit it vis-a-vis an ACC?
Well, yes, I would actually, because Ambuja Cement has been, performing at better operating parameters than ACC. And if you look at cement as a pack, I think we are in a long-term bull run for cement, because the capacity addition that we've seen is not really going to be so high to impact prices, and the producers have imposed a certain amount of pricing discipline, if you can call it that, whereby they are able to pass on increased cost to the customers. So given the growth that is there and the earnings, I think Ambuja Cement also looks attractive, maybe to buy at a little bit of a decline, because it trades at about an implied EV of about $196 per ton, which is pretty reasonable for a company like Ambuja. So I would actually look at Ambuja as one of the good companies in this space. And for today, I felt that we could see the momentum taking the stock up further, and that's really why I chose it for the day.
Okay, that's the word coming in on an Ambuja Cement. But we've also had numbers for a Union Bank that have just come out. The profit number has come in at about 555 crore rupees. We were expecting a number closer to 550 crore rupees. So at least on the face of it, the bottom line looks exactly in line with what the street was expecting. Do remember that this is a growth of close to 50% on a year-on-year basis for the bank. 352 crores was what it clocked in last quarter. But certainly internals is something one needs to track very, very carefully, because as soon as the numbers have come out, we've seen the stock really literally fall off a cliff. In fact, it was managing to hold in the green territory, and right now it's trading roughly at the lowest point of the day, 2.5% off in the session. In terms of the net interest margin, net interest income and the NIMs, those also need to be monitored very carefully. We are expecting the net interest income to come in at about 1,887 crore rupees, vis-a-vis 1,661 crore rupees that the bank clocked in last time around. That would be a growth of close to 13%. In terms of the pre-provision profits as well, we are expecting a growth of somewhere close to 11% for the bank. The asset quality, that's of course a key monitorable for all banks, and of course PSU banks, they've also been in focus for that particular reason. The net interest margins also need to be focused on, but for now, we've just got the PAT figure, which is 555 crores, and we've got the stock actually moving back very sharply into the green territory.
Okay, that's an adverse reaction coming in initially to the numbers, now seems to have stabilized. We'll keep an eye out on that and keep you updated with more details on those numbers. But meantime, in fact, let's also take it right back to the stock game and to talk about Rajat Bose's a second pick, which comes in the form of a Jubilant FoodWorks. It's the August futures that you're betting on. You have placed a target of 1358. Now, fundamentally, we do know that the consumption story does seem to be intact. But Rajat, one can't ignore the expensive, valuations of this. Does that deter you whatsoever? And on the charts, do you think that it deems for a good long-term play as well?
When during the break in the earlier program, I was hearing one of the ads, or I think it was Mr. Shankar Sharma who was referring to India being a consumption story, and consumption led companies would actually do very well. In that case, even Jubilant FoodWorks for the longer term might well do well. But my selection of Jubilant Foods is nothing to do with long-term prospects. What I saw is that Jubilant Foods, after a correction for a few days yesterday, showed some traction and it was suggestive of some reversal. And today, if you look at the intraday chart, both on the cash market as well as in the November futures, what I see is that whenever it is going up, for those minutes that it is moving up sharply, it was attracting very good volumes, and when it is stalling or falling a bit, then the volumes diminish. That is a classic bullish pattern on the volume chart, and the kind of chart formation that you see on intraday, it gives me an idea that probably we are headed for the targeted levels of I think 1358 that I have chosen for November futures, and I have kept a slightly stretched stop loss here of 1285. Actually, somebody who wants to trade it at this point in time, I would say a preferable stop loss would be 1305.
1305 is a preferable stop loss, and the counter has not done a whole lot over the last 1 month. But for today, higher by 1.5%. Let's quickly revisit Union Bank. We've got a little more details, and I think that now the street would perhaps be heartened to know that at least asset quality, which has been a major concerning point for most of these banks, is fairly stable. So it's come in at 3.6% for the gross NPAs. This is vis-a-vis 3.7% on a sequential basis. And remember, even in the first quarter, the gross NPAs were higher at 3.76%. Net NPAs too in the first quarter came in at 2.2%. This time around it's at 2.02%. So there is some stability there. You've got the NII 1850 in line and profits in line at 555 crore rupees. Now heaving a sigh of relief for Union Bank, higher by 1.5%. We take a quick break right here on BNSN, the stock aim. Some more trading ideas coming your way.